Our guest speaker definitely fits into the category of not a guest, because as we like to say around here, hashtag once MVC, always MVC. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. In, I believe it was 1995, she came here to the Valley of the Sun as a bright and shiny new minister just a few years into her ministry, and was our senior minister at New Vision Center for 17 years. One of the last things she did as senior minister of New Vision Center is marry Bobby and I to each other, not to her. And now she is at Mile High Church in Denver, Colorado, one of the biggest New Thought centers in the world, a shining light of what religious science can do as a co-leader, part of this movement of co-senior ministers. We love her. We will always love her, and it is a joy. Please help me welcome home Reverend Dr. Michelle Medrano.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, New Vision Center. It is so good to see you all here. I'm thrilled to be here as a chance to speak today, and I have to admit, I was thrilled to be here Friday night as a chance to celebrate the newly installed Reverends Leslie and Karen. The community is in beautiful hands. I couldn't be more happy and more proud to watch their ministries unfold, to celebrate who they are, because when I was here as a minister, I got to know them both very, very well. And I know their hearts and I know their souls. I know who they are. I've watched them develop as ministers in our School of Ministry, and it's just delightful to see them and celebrate them, as it is to see so many of you here today. And so I look forward after the service to having a chance to continue the hug-a-thon that's been going on since Friday. Lots of hugs. Looking forward to that. I'm honored today to talk also about something that I love, and it's about generosity. I am talking about joyful generosity today. The opportunity that each one of us has to really step into our generous nature, our generous beingness. I wrote a story in the newsletter that I want to start out with. I was speaking with a ministerial colleague recently, and we were talking about the nature of church and people in church. And she said that she was standing in the line at the door after a service that she had conducted, and a woman came out of the service very enthusiastic and said, "Oh my gosh, I loved the talk and I loved the music. It's such high quality and I feel so great." And then she looked at my minister friend and said, "All this for just $1." And my minister friend said it really struck her, and it struck me when we had the conversation. Now, I want to say, $1 isn't a bad gift. It's not a horrible gift. But what struck my ministerial friend was that the woman who said this, she was pretty clear. She knows this woman, that she can clearly give more than $1, but she chooses not to. And that's the crux right there. And I want to say that when I'm talking today about generosity, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about every way in which we shortchange the divine nature that seeks expression through us by limiting it, by encountering life in this powerful, profound way, and then scrunching it down into a teeny little ball where we only eke out a little bit here and there. It's a habit that we get into many times. The habit of bargaining, getting as much as we possibly can for as little as we possibly can give. And it's habitual. I love a good bargain. I'll tell you that for sure. I'm a good bargainer. My mother has taught me well. She's a good bargainer. And sometimes this bargaining, this way of encountering life gets to be so habitual in places where we don't want or need it to be habitual, where it simply does not serve us to live in that habit of shrinking down and then expecting more. What we know about life is that things thrive to the degree that there is a generous flow happening between people, between organizations, between every relationship. If we want something to thrive, we can't habitually practice withholding ourselves or hoarding ourselves back from that thing that we want to thrive. If we want something to thrive, what we must understand, what we have to accept, and what we have to lean into is the energy that is calling us towards generosity, towards giving, towards opening ourselves. And it can be very vulnerable because we have all sorts of stories, don't we, about why we can't be generous. Stories about we don't have enough. What if we get hurt? What if it doesn't go the way we hope it will go? Blah, 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 blah. Stories. And today, I am here to lovingly challenge us to surrender those stories and to find our way back into the heart, the center, the true north of what I suggest is the truth about all of us. The soul's desire, that to the degree that we can feel we are lovingly, joyously, and generously giving back into life, to that degree we will experience fulfillment, happiness, energy, and joy. And to the degree that we are withholding and cocooning and hoarding and clinging, we will experience disconnect, depression, anxiety, and sadness. It becomes a choice. And it may sound simplistic, but it's not. I suggest it's the truth of who and what we are today. And so I want to challenge us to live like Victoria Castle suggests. I love the author Victoria Castle. She wrote a book about prosperity. We used to use it a lot here many years ago. And she says, whenever we perpetuate separation, we impoverish ourselves. Hoarding, the opposite of generosity, banks on the notion that keeping everything we have for ourselves will ensure our security. It's one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. And so it gets to be a habit in relationship as we approach different relationships in our lives with how little can I give and still have a thriving relationship? What's the minimum I can give and still get everything I want, right? It's a habit in work. How little can I give and still get a raise or still get a good review? What's the littlest bit I can eke out? It can become a habit in our health. How little can I actually do for my body and still be strong and healthy and vibrant? And in my church, how little can I give and still get everything I want in church? In fact, I will say to you that I confess, and I can say this to you now that in my years of ministry, which is now 28 years of ministry, oftentimes in a church environment or a relationship, the person who's giving the least complains the most. The people who are giving the most and who are the most connected may have feedback or input or suggestions, but they don't come in the form of complaints. They don't come in the form of demands. They don't come in the form of you better do this. People who are plugged in and connected often want to have a conversation. But complaint comes from that place of lack and limitation in any relationship, in any situation. It's an approach that says something's wrong here and you'd better fix it versus I'm experiencing something a little bit different. Can we talk about it? That's the difference. And that's true generosity. And so it's about looking at how we're showing up. I think it's the same situation in workplaces. People who are often hiding out, not really sharing their gifts, not really giving the most, feel disconnect, and therefore they complain more to their bosses. They demand more from their companies. They complain more. And the people, it's the same with the world. Oftentimes we're not giving back into the world. We're not giving back into society. We're not plugging in and being part of the conversation. We feel like, I call it like armchair quarterbacks. We just sit back and feel as though we can complain, like we're watching the football game and we're watching it on television and we're screaming loudly about what the quarterback should be doing. We're not out there on the field, are we, getting our butts kicked? We're sitting in our chair, just, complaining about what they should be doing. And it feels good, but it's not really forward motion. I like forward motion. That's a football term. It's not really forward motion for our soul or for the truth of who we really are. And so this becomes a habit. In church, I have this cartoon that I brought today of a man telling a clergy woman, I don't see my slide. There it is. The survey shows that the congregation wants to be spiritually fed and challenged by shorter sermons while adding more support and outreach groups that demand less of their time and money. Right? So I suggest to us today that generosity, the reason that it's important for us to take a look at this is because it's our truest nature. And we see this with children. We see this with children. I brought a commercial that I'm hoping that they can play today on the screens. It's a commercial for an insurance company. It's American Family. I'm not here to endorse American Family Insurance necessarily, but I am here to endorse the concept in the commercial. Can we play that commercial? Okay, I'm going to get out of the way.
Is that too heavy? Try.
I got
it. Lift it up. 1, 2, 3. Good. Looks great.
Wow. This looks amazing. Can I help you make a few?
Sure.
You sure?
Uh-huh.
Hi, I'm Derek. Nice to meet you. So how long have you been doing this?
2 years.
2 years. So you're an expert.
Yes.
Can you do one with my name?
Sure.
D-E-R-E-K?
D-R-E-K.
D-E-R-E-K.
D-E-R-E-K?
Yes. What's the ultimate dream for your business?
I really wish I had more bracelets to make every single day.
What do you do with the money?
We have this hunger project that I give back to the kids that don't have enough money to buy food.
So the more bracelets you make, the more money you raise, and then the more kids you can help out. How long have you had this dream?
10 years.
So you're 6 years old and you had the dream for 10 years. That's pretty good. That's someone that knows what they want to do in life.
Yeah.
Okay, now, what do you think about this?
Ooh.
Two things to note about that commercial. First of all, that's the longer version. I never heard who it was, and so when I sent it to Jeff, Jeff goes, "Oh, Derek Jeter's in that commercial." I'm like, "Who's Derek Jeter?" Was that Derek Jeter? And then so I just saw now that he says, "I'm Derek Jeter," and she spells his name out. That wasn't in the commercial I saw. The other thing that I found so cute about that commercial is when he says to her, "So how long have you been doing this a couple years? How long have you wanted to do this?" "For 10 years, but you're only 6 years old," right? Right? To me, that is really the crux of this spiritual thing. So here's the deal. I don't believe that our soul came here to get anything. We didn't come here to get a single thing. We get very entitled about this human life and what we think we came here to get. We came here to give. We came here, however many years old you are, just add 4 more years to it, and like she did, like Ella did, and recognize that some part of you and some part of me came here to this planet to say, what can I give? What could I do? How could I contribute? How could I give back? And not only giving back of our gifts and our talents, but a huge part, I think the core of what we're here to do, and I have said this over and over again, and every time I meditate and I go within and I deepen, it comes back to me over and over and over again. We are here to walk through this human existence and through all of the conditions that we encounter, through every single relationship, through every part of triumph and suffering, and every part of joy and sadness and heartbreak and success, and every moment of it, that core within us says, can you find God in that? Can you feel? Can you sense? Can you see? Can you express? Can you give your deepest spiritual nature here, even though it doesn't look like you wanted it, even though it didn't come out like you expected it, even though you want more and you can't seem to get it, even though you don't see that you think you have enough of some source or resource, can you still be, give, and express your divine nature in that? And where we get off track so often is we get caught up in not feeling as though we're getting enough, not feeling as though things are coming to us the way we want them to. And when we begin to see people shift that narrative and literally shift that energy and literally shift their life is when they start asking another question. How could I give more generously? What do I have that I could give? And children like Ella show us this all the time. I had an experience of that right on this stage many years ago. Over the years that I've been in ministry, I've watched people, I'm going to talk about money now, so take a deep breath if you have money issues. I have watched people give to this center and other communities I've been involved with very generously. We've had generous gifts here. At Mile High Church in the past 5 years, someone gave $1 million to our church, right? I've seen that happen. But they're all special, all amazing. But I would say to you that the most generous gift I've ever received as a minister financially happened here one Sunday morning as the kids came in at the end of the service. And my nephew, Jaden, came in and ran up to me and with his little sweaty hands put 3 pennies into my hand. And I thought, okay, thank you, Jaden. And later I asked his mother, my sister, Noelle, why did Jaden give me 3 pennies? And she explained that morning she got up and said, we're going to go to Aunt Michelle's church today. And Jaden screamed with glee and delight, ran into his room, opened his piggy bank, emptied it out, and said, I'm taking all of my money to Auntie Michelle's church today. And Noelle said, why? And he said, because I love that place, and I always want it to be there for me and everyone else. And he handed me those 3 pennies, and when she told me that story, I thought, that's it. A little 5-year-old child gets generosity. He gets it. He got it at the core. And so I want us to really embrace that story from a standpoint of sometimes we limit our sense of generosity because of our wounds, because of our stories, because of our sense of limitation and lack. And it's never the amount that we give. I mean, how many times have we had someone in our life just give a little act of kindness and it made all the difference in our day? They maybe didn't come over and clean your house and cook dinner for you and put your feet up on a pillow, but they called and just said, I love you. Or they sent a loving text. Or they sent a card. Or they took time out to be with you. How many times do those small little gifts, but they're given from the heart of the truth of who we are? And what I'm suggesting to us today is whether it's in the relationships we revere the most, or the places that we care about the most, or the people in our lives we want to stay connected to, it does add up in those little loving kindnesses born from the center of our heart, like Ella, like Jaden, like most children we run into. And what happens is we lose sight of that generous nature, that truth of who we are, because we tell ourselves stories like, I'm not worthy of giving the gift. if I'm not worthy of showing up. I'm not worthy of shining my light. It doesn't matter. I only have $5. I only have. That whole story, like if we could just scrap it, I only have, and just never say those words to ourselves again, that would be the truth of who we are. Because God, that infinite source within us, never says to us, I only have so much to give you. I only have so much. And so when we're in alignment with our spiritual truth, it's not that we have to give everything every day to everyone. Some of us who get addicted to giving in that way, we burn out, right, doing that. It's giving what we can to that which we truly care about. And not being like the woman in the story that I opened with, who knows she could do more and chooses not to because she's getting a bargain. She's getting a deal. She's feeling a disconnect. Allowing ourselves to be that generous presence. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, says, life has placed at the center of every person's being an urge to live, to love, to create, and to find the fulfillment in joy, in happiness, and in communion with others. Life is like a great force flowing through us, coming from a hidden source. And the more that we're connected to that source, the more we know the truth. Victoria Castle also says to us, generous people give because they know they have received. They don't identify with causing the flow to keep coming. So this seems to be a secret. When we start to uncover the spiritual truth of us and the generous nature that God is through us and as us, in that moment that we receive it, we are poised to be big in our giving, to be big in our presence, to be big in the way that we show up in life, because God is this big, expansive, inclusive presence that includes all. And so what we understand is that to be a powerful receiver, the first step is to be a powerful giver, is to be in receivership, as she's suggesting. To spend time contemplating all that we received. To be with the people receiving them who are showing up in our lives, to be with the conditions and situations, to be with the communities and people that support us and call us forth and see the best in us and constantly invite us to be the best that we can be and to shine brightly and stand in our light, and to never take those things for granted. To never take those things, those people for granted, and stay connected to them. To stay connected through our generosity. And never find ourselves thinking, well, someone else will handle that. Oh, the rich people of the church will give. I only have $5 to give. I'm not going to give it because it won't matter anyway. Here's how it matters. Whether it's giving financially, giving time and energy, because the minute we give, it unleashes that aspect of us that is the truth of who we are. So a gift given from the true center of our heart doesn't have the words big or small attached to it at all. It only has centeredness. And when we give from that, what we unleash in ourselves is something that goes forth from us and benefits the people and organizations that we work for, that we connect with, that we're a part of, in powerful and profound ways. And it benefits each one of us in showing up in the world as the divine life. So we learn to give thanks for, never take for granted any of those good things. And when it comes to what we can give, we also are somewhat limited at times. We think, well, I don't have money to give. Do you have time? Do you have prayers? If you're working for a company and you're in a job that you think maybe isn't the best job for you and you'd like to grow in that company, start praying for the success of that company. Start wanting for the best to occur in that organization and watch what happens. If you're in a relationship, a friendship, or a work relationship, or a romantic relationship where you want to be more connected, start loving and praying up that person. Start noticing and paying attention to all the good that is in that relationship. Start reaching out to them and giving them what you think you want from them, and watch it thrive. If you are wanting your body to be strong and healthy, stop taking resources from it and start loving it and listening to it and allowing it to lead you through your day and giving back to it the sleep and the love and the care and looking at it in the mirror with absolute love. I am fond of saying in our world today, for those of us who want to be healthy and have strong bodies, you do not get the luxury of standing in the mirror and criticizing yourself constantly and then being strong and healthy. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. And if we keep thinking it will, we are lying to ourselves. As well as when we look out at life and we constantly tell stories about how bad it is out there and how this isn't happening and that's not happening and that person's not doing this and this person's not doing that. Those complaints, we don't get the luxury of those conversations and then expecting peace on earth, goodwill towards men and women, right? It doesn't work like that. At some point, humanity's got to stop and say, it's time for me to be generous, to see the good. Dr. Marjorie Stamm at Mile High Church used to shout out all the time, look for the good and praise it. And I thought it was very cute and sweet. Now I know it's important. It's important to do this. Do your part, whatever it is, in everything you care about, with everyone you care about. Do your part, whatever it is, and give without attachment. Find ways to give. Byron Katie suggests, as well as many other spiritual leaders, give in a way that people don't even know you're doing it. One of my favorite things as a Starbucks addict is to go through the drive-through and pay for the car behind me, right? Many of you have done that. Little things that you can do for people that they'll never know you did it, because part of that is to reconnect with that generous nature in us that is the truth of us, upon which it becomes unleashed and our life begins to thrive. Where can we give more? Holmes says to us, it is the nature of a bird to soar and sing. It is the nature of a seed to burst with the gladness of its existence. So it is with all the gifts of life that we possess. They too are here to be used. So finding that natural fountain of good that seeks to flow through us, to express as us, is a huge part of joyful generosity. It's the fountain of life. It's the fountain of youth. It's the fountain of love. It's the fountain of God. Anne Frank said, no one has ever become poor by giving. No one has ever become poor by giving. And so inviting us into this generosity today, I'm going to invite us to pray, because I do believe that one of the best gifts we can give is our prayerful consciousness to anything and anyone. So just take a deep breath with me, if you will, and let's go within. As we sit together in this sweet silence, I invite us to allow our heart to open to the universal presence. We may have spent lots of time contemplating God, thinking about God, seeking God, wondering about God. And in this moment, we allow our heartful presence to just say yes, to just say yes to that universal light. To feel the willingness within us at that deepest level, just like little Ella, the willingness to be a place where the generosity of the divine just shines so brightly. To take an inventory with this heartful presence of our life. Who are the people that we care the most about? What are the places that we are most nurtured? Where is it that we most feel called to give of our gifts and talents and skills? To feel that divine urge within us to give back, to open ourselves up. And what I accept today, as each one of us sits in this heartful contemplation, is that it is in this oneness that has been established in this service this day by our practitioners thus far, that we reside and resound. And that as each one of us contemplates these places in our lives, I accept and affirm that we are guided and directed and allowed through our own mind and through our own heart to step forward powerfully and magnificently into that nature that is the truth of us. I declare and accept that the stories fall away, that anyone in this room or listening to this message at any time, in any place, that has any story that indicates in their own minds and hearts that their gift is not good enough, not big enough, not worthy enough, that who they are, what they have come here to be and give is too small. I declare that that just falls away. It falls back into the nothingness from whence it came. It is healed, that we are made whole, and we stand in the integrity of the truth of our own soul right here, right now. And in that integrity, each one of us is guided into that which literally is ours to do, ours to give, ours to be, ours to express. It is God in form, no less. It is everything. And each one, each being belongs here in this kingdom of heaven and generosity. And you know how I know that? I know it because we're here. I know it because we are here. And so we give back in the way that we have come here to be fully expressed. I accept and affirm all this as so right here and right now. And I'm so grateful, so very grateful that this is the truth of us, through us, and revealed in our lives this very moment. And out of this truth, I just let go. I let it be. It is done. I release it into the law, absolutely knowing. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.